Oh, we don't usually get to that part of the intro song, but I screwed up the intro twice, so that's why we're coming in a little bit late on this one. Welcome to Snack Size DFS. I'm Dan Vespris, just here to introduce the program to you guys and my good buddy Brenton Eckersley, who you can find on Twitter at Terrain72, is going to break down the DFS card for you for Tuesday. I want to make sure I get this right. March 25th, 2025. And he's going to do it pretty quickly, so you guys can actually get yourself set up, knock out some DFS wins, and it won't take all day to get you there. Before we do that, though, I got to remind you guys that March Madness is the time to do a little betting with our buddies over at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. They've got the largest selection of odds on everything in college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, making them the number one sports betting source in the universe. They've got every Cinderella story covered. You see what I did there? With odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. So pick a team you love and ride them to the finish line over at Bet Online. The game starts here. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as you're settling in. Super important if you want to get our DFS shows, which are going to run through as long as Brenton will take you, which, if you ask nicely, might be a while, because Brenton's the man. Let's send it to him right now.
Welcome, everybody. This is Snack Size DFS for your Tuesday, March the 25th, DraftKings DFS slate. My name is Brenton Eckersley, coming to you from Adelaide in South Australia. Thank you, Dan, for the intro. As always, we've got 8 games to get into here today. It's a fairly chock-a-block week. Most of the days have 7 to 9 games kind of hanging around, and DraftKings, in their infinite wisdom, did not break this one up for me. So it is a full 8-game DraftKings card. Hey, guys, I have a question for you. People who've been here in Snack Size for a while know that I do record it early. It's almost a full day before the games. And I'm toying with the idea of potentially down the track doing this as a live show as the games, as we head into the games for the actual day. And I'm wondering what you guys think of that. Obviously, when I record early, there's a whole lot more that I have to take into consideration in terms of what could happen in the next day, back-to-backs and all that stuff. Whereas if I go live on the day of the DraftKings slate that we record for, you guys could follow along. We can watch the news together and build a lineup that way. I'm just wondering what you guys might think of that idea. Give me a comment in the YouTube comments below, please. Let me know what you think of this. It may be an interesting way to do this. I'm not sure yet whether it's feasible or not. We do get lots of listeners and lots of viewers doing it this way, recording early with this condensed version, quite a way out from the DK card. But I'm just wondering what you guys think of that. Look, that's enough of that for now. Please drop in the comments, though, whether you'd like to see me go live on the actual day of the slates, and we'll see what we can do about that in the future. It may not happen this season, but potentially next season. Let's jump in, shall we? It is, as I mentioned, an 8-game card, Tuesday, March the 25th. Here are your game notes. I have tried to be ruthless here. 8 games is a lot of games. I'm trying to cut down the amount of players that I talk about. We will rip through the 8 games here. The game notes for Tuesday, March the 25th. Game pace up games, Houston taking on Atlanta, and that Memphis versus Utah game is probably going to be one of the quick games of the season, so definitely worth looking at. The slow one of the day, I imagine, is going to be Orlando taking on Charlotte. A few teams we can attack here, taking on some teams that give up lots of fantasy points, which is what we love. Houston taking on Atlanta, Memphis taking on Utah, a little bit back the other way, although Memphis have tightened up to defensively as well. That's just a great stat game all around because of the pace. New York taking on Dallas will be a nice attack team as well. And the major pace bump of the day is going to be Houston taking on Atlanta. In Atlanta, 8 games on, let's jump in. Orlando taking on Charlotte in Charlotte. As I mentioned, this will be the slow one. It's a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back for Orlando playing today. Franz Wagner, 8,800. He is probably my only guy here for the Magic that I like. Paolo you can play, but it's just going to be a general slow game all around. I don't really see the history with Paolo taking on Charlotte, whereas Wagner put up 55 DK points on Charlotte. That was way back in December, and Paolo wasn't playing then. But you can attack Charlotte at small forward as well, so I like Wagner here. Wendell Carter Jr., 5,200 is a pinata play. The minutes are there at the moment. As you can see, 31, 35, 19, and 29 minutes in his last 4, which is great, but he is a yo-yo scorer, so he can bounce anywhere between 10 and high 30s DK points. Play him at your peril. Anthony Black is another pinata play here for you, taking on Charlotte. 3,800. That's a bottom of the barrel pricing if we need to land their pinata kind of play. He has had decent minutes in his last 4, kind of hovering around that 20 to 25 minutes all season. As you can see there, much like Carter Jr., a lot of yo-yo scoring. The other one to look out for here is Cole Anthony, ruled out on the Monday, but questionable for the Tuesday. 5,100 would be a decent price if Anthony's ready to suit up and go versus Charlotte. On the Hornets team, it's high price guys here to start with. LaMelo Ball, 9,500. Sorry, I have not read the injury reports. Let's go back to Orlando. Cole Anthony and Trevelyan Queen out on the Monday. As I mentioned, Anthony hopefully coming in on the Tuesday. For the Hornets, it's Josh Green in on the Monday, on the Tuesday, not a back-to-back for these guys. And Josh Okogie, of little consequence to us, those guys. Okogie is questionable. Back to the prices, LaMelo Ball, 9,500. It's a good price for LaMelo, 54 and 68 versus Orlando in his last 2 games versus them, which bodes well for a $9,500 price tag. He's had some poor shooting in his last couple of games, keeping his DK scoring low. I like the price here for LaMelo. It is a slow down game anytime anyone takes on Orlando, and they are pretty tough defensively. So decent play, GPP option maybe for you, contrarian play for LaMelo Ball. Miles Bridges at 9K. I like this spot because we can attack Charlotte at power forward at the moment. Bridges, 9K, only 37 DK points versus Orlando earlier in the season, but he had 26% shooting on that night. Any kind of reversal up to 40 to 45% shooting, and Bridges should be okay at that price. Nick Smith Jr. is your kind of wild pinata play. Look, the guy got 38 minutes in a game that LaMelo was playing. You can't script that. You can't guess that it's going to happen. Josh Green coming in will hurt the minutes there for Nick Smith Jr. So 4,700, it's a bit of a stab in the dark pinata play, as we like to say here at Snack Size DFS. Moving into the second game, it's the Spurs taking on the Pistons. Castle has come up as questionable for this game. No back-to-backs here. The minutes for the San Antonio Spurs are high-price guys, veterans, star names like, Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, if you want to call him a star, that they're just ramping them down. So it's the young guys getting the minutes here at the moment for the Spurs, and that's the way I'm heading here. Devin Vassell at 7K, coming off 43 and 44 DK points in his last 2. Just keep in mind that they were some high field goal percentage games, and they were also versus Philly and Toronto. So not the Detroit Pistons, who are very tough defensively. That's a buyer beware for me. It's a bit of a red flag. If Castle can't go, he is questionable, then I like this more for Vassell. The other guy on the wing for the Spurs that I like is Keldon Johnson, 4,600. A pinata play for sure. Minutes in the mid to high 20s now. They will let him go if he hits his first few shots. It's as simple as that. So in his last game, he caught fire and they let him roll for about 30 minutes. And that's the story with Keldon Johnson, which makes him an up and down kind of pinata stab in the dark play. Low down the order there at $3,500. We've got Bismack Biyombo. The center position for the Spurs is a bit of a mess at the moment, but I like the matchup here. I believe they'll have to play Biyombo here versus Jalen Duren. Bigger body. I don't see how Mamoukelashvili can potentially defend that. And if the Spurs want to keep this close, I think it's Biyombo. Sohan is the other guy at 5,600. He was getting the start, had the start a couple of games in a row, and then the Spurs just flipped things back again. So he came off the bench, played 25 minutes, definitely a pinata play with Sohan and also Sandro Mamukelashvili at 3,900. I prefer Bismack at the low price of 3,500. Let's go into the Detroit team. The injury report at the moment, Cade Cunningham and Tim Hardaway Jr. both questionable for this Tuesday game. Cade Cunningham at 10.5. Yeah, I like this price. He's definitely in play versus the Spurs, who since losing Wemby, basically ramping their vets down and letting the kids play. This is a good spot for Cade at 10.5. He's been putting up some massive field goal attempt nights, 25 to 30. I think his last game he had 30 field goal attempts. And yeah, that bodes well for our DFS lineups. He's also coming off 54 and 66. So Cade is probably one of my higher price guys tonight. Jalen Duren, though, give me all of this at 7,200. We know that we can absolutely target the Spurs at the center position. Teams are smacking the center position for San Antonio around here for DFS lately. It's a small price bump, but give me all of Jalen Duren here versus backup centers for the Spurs. The other guy to keep an eye on here, if Cade can't go, you could look at Sasa. There's a couple of other guys in the mid-price, but it was Ron Holland, the second, who got the minutes, the big bump versus the Pels. It was against my team when Cade sat the last game. He was just unleashed. He played 36 minutes off the top of my head, 4,100. He had some high field goal percentage in that game, but shooting from the outside is not Ron Holland's game. He's trying to get to the basket. I don't expect field goal percentage to be an issue for a guy who just wants to drive. So I like that pinata play there if Cade can't go at 4,100. Let's move on to the next game. It's the Warriors taking on Miami. Curry is questionable for the Warriors. He did practice, and the quote unquote was, we're going to see how he pulls up. So let's see what happens there. Obviously, that will change a few things around. Gary Payton II has been ruled in for this Tuesday game. Steph himself, questionable, 9,100. He is definitely in play at this price. He always is. He's had some average shooting games lately. I like this as a little bounce back if he can go at 9,100. Jimmy Butler, 8,700, playing Miami Heat. We all know what that means. It's a revenge game. I'm not a big revenge game guy. There are certain times where I will look at it, and this is probably one of them. It's Butler's first time going back against his old squad of many years, the Heat. We could get angry Jimmy, 8,700. Yeah, he's had a 1K price rise over the last week or so. He's scoring very well at the moment, though. His floor is kind of 35 to 40 DK points, and we do have the revenge game narrative here if you'd like to play that. Three pinatas here for you. Brandon Pajemski at 6,300. His minutes are in the mid-30s. He's probably more than a pinata play. I especially love this if Curry can't go. Of course, it's going to be all the ball handling for Pods at 6,300. Even if Curry plays, I don't mind this price. Moses Moody is a Steph Curry injury replacement. Different positions, obviously, but yeah, 5,200. That's a pinata play. The guy can put up 35 to 40 DK points any given day, so I don't mind that if Curry can't go. And the other guy, if Curry can't go, yeah, he's a center, but he will get more minutes and potentially the start if Curry is out of this lineup. Quinton Post, 4K. He's a low-end spot filler. The upside isn't really there. It would be a tough matchup versus Bam and the Miami Heat centers, but I don't mind the stab in the dark for GPPs for Quinton Post. Let's move across to Miami. Bing! Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero both ruled in for this game on the Tuesday, and Duncan Robinson questionable. Let's look at Hero and Bam first. 8,300 and 8,200 both just feel appropriately priced for me. Bam had 43 DK points versus Golden State. Hero scoring wasn't really worth mentioning here. So, look, I'm just going to leave these guys off the board. You can play them if you like. They're a nice high to mid-price price. But, yeah, I just feel like we've got better options here. Andrew Wiggins, 6,300. The field goal attempts and usage for Andrew Wiggins right now are off the charts, out of control. He has had 17, 17, 17, a low one at 8. I think he may have been injured in that game. 13 field goal attempts and then 21 field goal attempts. That is a massive amount of usage for Andrew Wiggins at 6,300. Oh, yeah, back the other way. This is a revenge game back the other way. So you look, if you want to play the narrative, play both Jimmy and Wiggins and see what happens. You'll fill up your small forward / power forward spots there. And yeah, I can't, argue with you. It's a decent narrative. I just don't tend to go that way. And also on Wiggins, 41 and 61 DK points, obviously with those field goal attempts and usage out of control. High DK point scoring in his last 2. Keller Ware back to getting minutes again. The Spolstra lineups are very, very hard to navigate. It's almost a pinata play for anybody outside of Hero and Wiggins at the moment, and bam. The rest of the guys are just a washing machine. Keller Ware, though, we have to go on recent history. Recent history bias, right? 5,500, that's a $500 price jump, but his minutes are way back up. You can see there in the list, 36, 19, 33, 35, and 28 minutes makes Keller Ware an intriguing play at 5,500. Back-to-backs for both of the next teams. We have Dallas Mavericks taking on the New York Knickerbockers in New York. It's a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back for Dallas. It makes things interesting. Anthony Davis back in on the Monday game. We expect him to rest Tuesday. In fact, I think the coach said that was probably likely to happen. So I'm not talking about Davis in this lineup. We expect him to sit on the Tuesday back-to-back. Spencer Dinwiddie, 6,600. That's a $400 price jump, but it is of worthy pricing because his last few DK scores are very, very high, 46 and 49, versus Detroit and Indiana, who are no slouches on defense themselves. He has high minutes, but just be aware with Dinwiddie, the shooting can fall off at any stage. He is getting some really nice peripheral stats at the moment in boards and assists as well. So I have no problem playing Dinwiddie here at 6,600, even against New York. PJ Washington, we know that it's very, very likely that Anthony Davis does not suit up in the back-to-back. It's a decent spot versus New York. They're giving up points at power forward at the moment. He had 49 versus New York previously. It's an okay play. Probably not my favorite of the day, but he probably will not burn you at 8,100 PJ Washington. The one guy I really like here, with Davis likely to sit on the back-to-back, it's Kai Jones. Minutes in the mid-20s, can score very quickly for DFS. Points, DK points in bunches, basically. High points per minute guy, 5,100. He's had a little price bump, but that's a good price for a starting center, even versus New York. He does have lowish upside. It's a 30 to 33 DK point score here for Kai Jones for me, making him a decent value play. Let's look at New York. They have the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back at the moment. Miles McBride ruled out, so that's Brunson and McBride gone. Robinson is questionable. That's Mitch Robinson. Actually, I believe he was ruled in. And versus Dallas, a team that are giving up fantasy points everywhere, it is literally pick a nick. You could pick any of these guys who are starting and probably have a good day. Here are my 3 favorites, though. It's Karl Anthony Towns at 10K. He could do anything versus the starting center of Kai Jones. The Mavs would need to keep this close to make that 10K price tag an option. I don't see why they couldn't, and I also don't see why Cat couldn't get this done in 3 quarters of play. And also we have to remember that Tibbs just will roll his guys into the dirt in terms of high minutes, no matter what the score, no matter who they're playing. So I feel like Cat at 10K is a nice high price option on this card. Mikal Bridges, 6,500. The reason I've pulled him out of the pack here versus Anunoby and Hart on the wings is basically the Dallas at shooting guard spot is a definite place we can target at the moment. 20 field goal attempts for Bridges versus Washington in the last game. He is having a short-term boost in usage. And if you notice when you're playing DFS, those usage bumps for guys who don't generally tend to get it can last 2 to 3 games. So we've seen one. I hope that Bridges can hold on to that usage and get some serious field goal attempts up here versus Dallas. The easy injury replacement here is going to be Campaign. Everybody's going to be on him, I would say. So maybe more of a cash play. 4,600 for Campaign. There's going to be no Brunson. There's going to be no McBride. So Payne will almost definitely be the starting point guard. He's had a sneaky $1,500 price jump. Oh, sneaky DraftKings. That's very un-DraftKings-like, to be honest. They tend to ramp up slowly. But 30 minutes and 30 DK points versus Washington in the last one. No problems here versus Dallas. And your wilder swing at a pinata would be Mitch Robinson at 3,500. We've got a lot of games to get through, guys. I'm trying to do it as quick as possible. There is always a lot to talk about with 8 games on. Let's push on. Hawks taking on the Rockets. This is expected to be a fast game, I would say. Just a note, I don't think I'm going to look at Trey here in a pretty tough matchup defensively. I think he was 9,200. He's just right around value at that price. Similarly, Onyeka Okongwu, 7,600, has been killing this price recently and has been in my favorite plays almost every time he's on the board here. But we just want to look at Houston being the hardest center matchup for DFS points in the last week or so. So I'm going to just leave Okongwu out here. Dyson Daniels, 7,300. For me, this is just a pinata play. I actually faded him last game versus the Warriors. He did still put up 40 DK points, but he is doing this on these kind of scores in the 40 to 45 DK point areas on fairly low field goal attempts. That always makes me worried. He did have 2 45 DK points games a couple of games back. Just keep in mind that was on 83 and 55 field goal percent shooting. As a Pelicans fan, I know that this guy coming from New Orleans is not that kind of shooter. Yes, he can get peripheral stats and steals, obviously. I just am worried when I see those high field goal percentages boosting his scores into the mid-40s. You can play Dyson at 7,300 any given night. I am probably just only going to use him if I land here. He won't burn you at 7,300. Dominic Barlow, 3,600, wild pinata play here. Is an absolute yo-yo scorer, but we need to look at some low price guys. His DK point scoring in the last 4, 10, 26, 10, 36. So who knows what we're going to get here. We know that there's no Capella, so Barlow's getting some backup minutes at the center spot. 3,600 is a pinata play. He's either going to get you a low score or a very nice 10x score. On to, Keaton Wallace there, Atlanta Hawks, is the only guy listed out for this game. On the injury report for Houston, we have nothing to report basically at the time of recording. So nice and clean. Normally an easy spot for me to target here, and it'd be very hard to pick out some names, but I just feel like Alpi Şengün at 9K versus Okongwu is an appropriate price. He could burn me here for 50 DK points, 55 even, but I believe that we have better options at that position tonight, so I'm leaving Alpi out. I love Armin Thompson here at 8,200 though. This is a positional attack spot. You can absolutely target Atlanta at the power forward position. So I love this spot for Armin Thompson. Pace up game for the Rockets, capable of even higher than what I've listed there. 45 to 50 DK points. Dude can push into 55 quite easily. Great spot for him. Pace up and the positional attack versus Atlanta. Jalen Green is the other Rocket that I really like here. 7,800. Again, it's a pace up game. It's a one-off. He had a one-off game where he hasn't kind of reached this value of 16 DK points versus Miami, where he had a shocking, I nearly said something else there. He had a shocking field goal attempt night, 3 from 13. Otherwise, there's plenty of upside here versus Atlanta for Jalen Green. Just watch that he may get the Dyson Daniels matchup at times, but I still don't mind the price here versus Atlanta. Memphis and Utah, fast. This will be up over 240 easily, this game total. Good one to attack. Let's look at Memphis first. At the moment, at the time of recording, we have Ja questionable, and we can attack Utah at the small forward and power forward spots. I just noted that there for myself last night before I did this to remind myself of the spots where we can attack certain teams. Ja Morant himself, he is questionable for this game, 9,400. Hasn't played since the 14th of March. I think I'm just going to pass here. There could be low minutes. He could crush it. I think we have better options at 9,400, even in a juicy matchup versus Utah. Desmond Bane I like here. As I noted up the top there, we can attack the small forward, power forward position. for the on the Jazz side of things. So 8,900, he could crush this versus Utah. I love this much more if Jar sits, and the usage will have to go to Bane. Scottie Pippen Jr., that's just an injury replacement if Jar can't go here. He had 43, 35, and 30 DK points with Jar out. That would make 5K if Morant can't go. An easy slot in play for Scottie Pippen Jr. Utah Jazz, difficult team to work out. Luckily, we don't have a back-to-back here. I hate it when Utah, Toronto, Brooklyn, and now other teams like the Pelicans and Washington have back-to-backs. Excuse me. It makes things very difficult. Much easier here. No back-to-back. Markkanen is questionable. And there are my notes again. For myself, you can check them out now. It's Memphis. You can attack them at small forward and the center position. So Colin Sexton, I really like here at 6K, 41 DK points versus Memphis. Only last week. He is a yo-yo scorer, but that's just too cheap for Sexton in a very fast game versus the Grizzlies. Walker Kessler, one of my favorite plays here. We can solidly attack Memphis at the center spot. This is going to be the fastest game of the day, as long as he doesn't pop up on the injury report, and there's no sign of him being there yet. Walker Kessler is a smash play here for me at 7,100. And then you can take a pinata, stab in the dark, swing at that pinata with Kyle Filipowski, 6,100. That price is starting to get up there, but he does have the potential to go 35 to 40 DK points. He also has the potential to burn your lineups and play 17 minutes for 15 DK points. So very much a pinata play, and that's why I list him as such. Okay, take a breath. OKC at Sacramento. Both of these games in the season have actually been blowouts, and not small blowouts, 25 to 30 point blowouts. So we know the NBA is very matchup based. This may be one of those matchups where no matter who the Kings are rolling out, they're just going to struggle against the Thunder. And therefore, I have ruled out SGA and Jalen Williams if he plays here. I just feel they're appropriately priced, given that the Thunder have smacked the Kings both times. On the injury report, pardon me, at the moment it's Chet Holmgren and J-Dub himself, both listed as questionable. Yeah, I think I'm just leaving high-priced guys out here. I'm not that interested in Chet either. He just hasn't been getting it done, and he is questionable. The two guys I like, Isaiah Hartenstein at the center position, 7K, fantastic price, especially if Chet Holmgren can't go. He's probably still in play at that price of 7K anyway. His minutes are way back up, and his last four scores in DK, 41, 44, 33, which would still be above value, and 45 DK points. Love this price for Hartenstein. Love it even more if Chet can't go. And the other one, if Chet can't go, will be Jalen Williams. 5K, should get a big minutes boost if Chet is not out there. Let's look at the Kings team now. This is a back-to-back for Sacramento. They're playing today on the Monday. Moving into this Tuesday card, Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis came out of nowhere. He was probably another week away in most people's calculations, but he's come back in, and he will be playing on the Monday. No, he's questionable on the Monday. So we need to watch the news there. No. He was ruled in just before I started recording here. So Sabonis in on the Monday. Pretty unlikely he plays here in the Tuesday back-to-back. That will affect a few things, but I expect him not to play. Monk and Devin Carter, both questionable on the Monday. Sabonis himself, 9,200. As I said, in on the Monday, will be questionable to doubtful on the Tuesday. Appropriate for me, this price, 9,200. Unless he goes absolutely batshit crazy on the Monday, plays high minutes, and then has is not listed on the injury report for Tuesday. 9,200 is around about appropriate. Just keep an eye on what he does on the Monday. Malik Monk, questionable. I really like Malik Monk when he's playing the point guard position. Pretty nice pricing, 8,100. Doesn't seem to get many price bumps. He's probably the only high pricer I'm willing to look at here. You know, no DeRozan, no Levine for me in this one. I like Monk. He is questionable. If he can go here, it is a tough matchup. It's versus the Thunder. What can you say? They want the best defensive team in the league. So therefore, it's Malik Monk for me in that Monk, DeRozan, Levine list. 8,100 is the only guy I'm willing to have a go at, and Keon Ellis at 5,400. This is a massive pinata play. I would only be interested in this if basically Monk and Sabonis cannot play on this Tuesday. The other guy to look at if Sabonis can't go is Trey Lyles at 4K. That is a Sabonis injury replacement. Valanciunas 7,700, just too high for me at the moment. It's the last game. Where are we at? We're nearly at half an hour. Yeah, it's a lot of games to get through. Apologies. Let's rip through this last one. I don't have a great deal of interest here, to be honest. It's the Cavs taking on the Blazers in Portland. Jarrett Allen is the one guy I'm interested in here for Cleveland out of the starters. Mobley, Garland, Mitchell were all priced appropriately for me in this one in a fairly tough matchup defensively. 6,900 though, we can attack Portland at the center spot. 37 DK points in the last game versus Portland makes him the only guy I'm interested here in the high price guys. DeAndre Hunter 5K. This is a wild pinata play, and it's really based on current scoring. Just keep in mind, he also did get really hot versus Portland. The last time they played him went for 44 DK points. 5K is a nice price for Hunter the way he's going at the moment. Even better if one of the starting guards sits. Ty Jerome, 4,400. I've only listed him here because this was one of the games where he went absolutely buck wild the last time they played. So 52 DK points. There was no Donovan Mitchell in that game. Just keep an eye on news for the Cavs guards, and if one of them can't go, Ty Jerome at 4,400 is an awesome drop-in play. For Portland, I have only interest in two guys here. It's Denny Avdia at 7,700. He's had a 1K price rise over the last week, but it is thoroughly deserved. Easy play though, 60-point DK upside, and he also burnt the Cavs for 62 DK points in the last game. I really like the price there for Denny Avdia. Tamani Kamara, a little bit more hit and miss than Avdia at the moment. He is great value though at 5,600 at his current production. Yo-yo scoring though, between 25 and 45 DK points. He put up 35 DK points versus Cleveland in that last game, which makes him also a decent play here. Tamani Kamara. That's it for me today. 8 games is a lot to get through. Thank you for sticking with me. Here are my favorite plays for Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Jalen Duren versus San Antonio. I absolutely love this play. I think it's my favorite of the day. Jimmy Butler revenge game. Andrew Wiggins back the other way revenge game. Play them if you love those revenge game narratives. Can't talk you out of it. Kelly Ware versus Golden State. Spencer Dinwiddie rolling at the moment, taking on New York. I like Karl Anthony Towns and the bottom of the barrel lower price. Cameron Payne versus Dallas. Amen Thompson in a great spot versus Atlanta, and Bain versus Utah also in an excellent spot. I love that even more if Ja Morant can't go. The two guys for Utah, it'll be Sexton and Walker Kessler for me versus Memphis. Hartenstein too cheap versus Sacramento in my opinion. And the last game of the day, Sky, is Denny Avdia versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's it for me today. I'm your host, Brenton Eckersley. You can find me on the socials at Terrain72. Please like and subscribe. The Old Man Squad Network. We're out here working our tails off, bringing you the best fantasy content that we can. That's it for me. I hope to be back in a couple of days. For now, it's back to Dan in the studio. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brenton. Another outstanding episode in the books. If you made it this far, you know you've got to hit that subscribe button. Like, and the comments are open. If you have any questions on what Brenton talked about on today's show, that's the place to drop them. Last couple of shows, the player we've used in the thumbnail has been ruled out at the last minute. So hopefully we can break that streak today and get back on the thumbnail winning kick, even if the cards themselves are going just fine. We just want, me personally, I just want to pick the right thumbnail guy. And Brenton and I are going to work together on that. And obviously, everything could go wrong. Everything could go wrong. Thanks for watching. This is Snack Size DFS, an Old Man Squad fantasy basketball presentation. Again, he is Brenton Eckersley. I am Dan Vespers. Thanking you, as always, for being a part of this network that I created only like 9.5 months ago. It's been an amazing ride. Let's keep it going. We'll see you guys, I don't know, soon-ish.